Welcome back and happy Friday, and thanks for being with us the entire week here on the Rocketeer Minute, where each and every day, Monday through Friday, we go over 1 minute of the greatest adventure movie Walt Disney's ever made, the 1991 Walt Disney Pictures Joe Johnston directed feature, The Rocketeer. I'm one of your hosts, Jim O'Kane of TVDads.com.
And I'm Hal Bryan, an airplane nerd from the Experimental Aircraft Association here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Hal, are you hearing what I'm hearing?
I am indeed.
You're listening to a special Billy Campbell episode on the Rocketeer Minute. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Campbell.
And there was that intro music that I probably wouldn't make it through if I didn't have a cold can of Pilsner in my mitt. I in turn would like to introduce Jim's son, James O'Kane.
Hi guys, how's it going?
We're coast to coast. Well, almost
Welcome.
coast to coast.
This place is crawling with O'Kanes. It's wonderful.
It's all over the place. James.
Where's
is
my
out.
intro music? That's what I want to ask.
Well, you know musicians.
James,
Billy-
you can have mine.
He's apparently not using it. We'll
I
have
would
to
hate
punch
to do
in
that.
some really clumsy audio. And just, ladies and gentlemen, James O'Kane.
Wow. Well, James has joined us because he is probably the only person I know that's watched this movie more than I have. Although probably not at this speed. I don't think he's watched it
No,
individually.
this is a level of detail. I prefer the big picture kind of thing. Although I think my claim to nerdom on this one is I remember playing with a toy. It was a GB with a rubber band powered propeller
Oh, right.
that I got for a gift. I think it was at my birthday. Do you remember?
Possibly, yeah. It was back when this first came out, I think.
Yeah,
early,
it was
way
when it
back
first
when.
came out. It was a fully Rocketeer branded GB plane.
Yeah, those are hard to find now. You don't see those very much these days.
I don't think it lasted very long in my
No,
hands either. I pretty much-
Balsa and children are not good combos.
Yeah. It's fun times.
But we are in the middle. We are actually now finishing up the first hour of the Rocketeer, minute 60, where poor Cliff and Peavy and Skeets and Goose and Millie are trapped in the Bulldog Diner with Valentine's boys, and they're just gonna wait things out while they try to figure out what's happening. Actually, they were going to go over to. I think they're planning on going to the South Seas Club to find out if Eddie's boys were going to pick up Jenny. And
The dish.
The
dish.
dish is
Yes.
with the liming.
Yeah.
That's quite a dish.
Yeah. So speaking of dishes, there's a lot of dishes floating around in this place. We watch. This is Michael Malone, who I've loved in several different shows. He's marching around with a gun in hand, perusing actually not too much different from you, Hal. He's perusing all the little pictures on the walls.
Exactly, and making notes, and
Yeah.
he's flea picking, to use
Yes.
the words of our esteemed friend.
That's right.
But he's
It's a long tradition, Billy.
he's checking everything out. Jeff that's a great hat that Jeff is wearing at the time. I really enjoy that nice little green felt job that he's got on. He decides how he's going to orchestrate things. He's telling Millie to put on a fresh pot of coffee, kind of forgetting that the coffee and the coffee pot maker thing have all been destroyed about 2 minutes ago. So maybe she can go down the road to I pictured there's like a pussycat diner, and there's probably like a large mouse diner, and maybe
Right.
other forest creatures.
But none of them specialize in tamales and ice cream.
That's true.
Let's face it. If you want that, you go to the Bulldog.
Wow. And they do have he does notice that great picture of Peavy there, beautifully photoshopped with.
Yes.
What kind of a plane is that Peavy is standing in front of?
So that's a Curtiss Jenny. That's what Miss Mabel, the standard J1, sort of often gets mistaken for. And so very, similar configuration. It's that OX5 engine. It's a good look in this picture if you pause right on that right second of that really flat front end that was common to OX5 engine airplanes, or some of them at the time. And that's the radiator. So this is a water-cooled airplane engine, something we really don't see anymore.
Got it. And those louvers there are helping the airflow. Is that?
Yeah, those are, so that introduces airflow sort of after the engine. And, the Jenny, every picture you look at of a Jenny, you'll see different exhaust configurations. A lot of them actually had a muffler coming off of the four cylinders on either side going back. This one doesn't. It's just got those short stacks. So this would be a very distinctive, this would sound like a big clattering sewing machine as it flew. Oh, and Billy, yes, I did. I have looked. I have not yet found this actual picture that a young Alan Arkin's face was photoshopped into or airbrushed or whatever they did back then. Although Photoshop had been around for about 3 years when this movie came out. So
Yeah. And
but don't be disappointed. I am looking.
I'll be surprised if you don't find it.
Thank you, sir.
I was wondering if that was taken. If that was clipped from like a Catch-22 era Alan Arkin, because it seems about the right age for the face.
Yeah, it sure
on
does.
the
Does look
picture.
like it could be, doesn't it?
Billy, when you were working on the Bulldog set, did you spend a lot of time staring at the pictures on the walls? Because it looks like there's just so many knickknacks you could,
Oh, I stared at everything. I really love movie sets, and I love the work that set designers and decorators do, and production designers. And I just spent a lot of time looking at all the bits and pieces. So yes, I did.
I do so dearly love all of the pennants. We've talked about this before, but the Bigelow Air Circus pennants from the various years. And one little tiny thing I noticed, it shows up in a couple of different seconds, but it's basically right about the time that we hear the Mr. Ketchup bottle line. You see the one back there for 1928, the yellow one. And I just happened to look, it's October 13, 1928, and I checked, and yes, that was a Saturday. So just as October 15, 1938 is a Saturday. So Bigelow's Air Circus happens in October on a Saturday.
wow, yeah. I mean, it's just a salute to the great Dave Stevens, who he really loves his details.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he does. He did.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it didn't have to be that way, but just knowing that makes it that much better.
Yeah.
And we're getting the James Horner music with the descending triplets that always indicate that something imminent is going to happen.
Someone's about to throw a punch. Someone's
Yeah,
going to hang one on someone's kisser. I can feel it.
We hear those triplets again. I'm not spoiling anything, but later on at Griffith Park, when they're all waiting for the Rocketeer to descend out of the skies, that same musical motif comes up again. So we can listen to that in about 20 minutes from now. Yeah, just a beautiful thing. I do. When I was a kid, my dad used to watch a lot of Italian movies, like Fellini and stuff like that, and he used to call them eyeball pictures because every movie had these scenes where people would be looking back and forth at each other and exchanging knowing glances, and this is the eyeball part of the movie.
I love that.
What a great term.
I love that. I think I'm going to use that from now on. I go to work tomorrow. I'm going to ask the
yeah.
director, do you want some eyeball here?
An eyeball scene.
I think this scene needs more eyeball. Yeah.
And Billy, please be waving a half-eaten hamburger when you ask him this question. Really drive that home.
Yeah, and if he can't fit it in, just pat him on the back with the hamburger and say it's all right.
Exactly. And if you don't get your way, hit him with a ketchup bottle.
Yeah,
That's right.
I've got to ask, when you were doing these things, we were talking earlier about how it's customary for actors to stick around the set if they're not in the scene. Did you have was William Sanderson standing across from you doing the eyeball thing, or were you just waving your eyeballs at nothing?
Oh no, he was there. He was
Okay.
there. Yeah, everybody was there. As I recall, everyone was there. Of course, we were way out of town in Valencia, so
Yeah.
I don't think anybody was
Didn't have
rushing
any
off to. What's that?
They didn't have any place to go that night.
No. Yeah, I mean, being inside the Bulldog Cafe was probably the most comfortable place within 2 or 3 miles to sit.
Yeah. So William was feeding you his eyeball sides. While you
Yes, that's right.
It's great interaction there with Mike Malone. I feel bad. I've tried to find him, and he seems to have just disappeared off the internet. I know he was in a bunch of different. He was in a favorite show of mine, the show Do Over, which was on the CW network, and it was about a fellow that gets conked on the head, and he wakes up and it's 1981, and he's back in middle school. And Mike played the dad in the thing, and his dad would have these great ideas handed to him, like Facebook or iPhones and things like that, and he'd miss getting in early on it. So that was his role on the show. But he's kind of disappeared off the internet. And if you're out there listening, I'd love to talk to you about your part in this movie.
He was a really nice seeming guy. He was quite a cheerful guy.
Yeah,
as I recall.
Great comedic. I mean, just the way he delivers these lines, where he's just kind of gesturing with the gun, and just a beautiful delivery. And then that wonderful realization that, wait a minute, you're dating Lady Luck. So Do you remember that initial image? I'm assuming that's taken the first day that you were. That must have been like immediately after you were assigned. They probably took that shot.
Which shot? Oh, of me and Lady Luck?
You and Lady
Yeah.
Luck, yeah.
Let me see. I'm looking at it right now. Yes. Oh, that picture. Oh,
You guys are so sweet together there. Yeah, it's just.
I know.
But well, you both look like you both just got signed on to a major motion picture.
I think it probably was right around that time. We were
Yes.
still had the afterglow of that.
The ink was barely dry on the contract. So.
That's right. I'm not sure if we'd been shopping yet or not.
Someday groceries. Let's see. Well, gosh, the cutting in this is so fast too. I mean, it's like half-second cuts. They go from
Yeah.
Mike to Jeff to Cliff to Goose, and then that beautiful shot where they cut from Jeff's face to the end of your wet fist, just bang, right in.
That's right. Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That was pretty good. And then there's oh gosh, I can't remember his name. He was eating the hamburger and pointing the gun at me and sort of just missed me as I went by.
Yeah, that's Mike. I think it's let me see. That is Daniel O'Shea.
Daniel O'Shea. That's right. Daniel had, I don't know if I can share this, but he shared it with everyone. Daniel had a dead testicle.
Oh my!
Yeah, like one that just wasn't functioning, and and actually pulled it out at a party we had in Santa Maria at the hotel, and gave it a couple of mighty thwacks, which of course made all of us cringe. But yeah, it was really interesting, and he was a interesting.
So this wasn't in a jar. Okay.
No.
It was still attached.
This was on his person, and he was
Wow.
quite. It was quite a sort of a conversation piece, and I got the sense that that maybe after a few drinks that it was a fairly common party
Time for show and tell.
conversation starter.
When we started this venture, I would have bet just about any sum to say that the phrase "dead testicle" was never going to come up on any episode. But Billy, you have led us here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go look at the iTunes terms of service.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
It tells well.
No, come on. I mean,
yeah,
there's a podcast called "My Dad Wrote a Porno," which I listen to, and this is a dead testicle has nothing on that.
Oh dear! Wow. Well, maybe my son has thoughts on this.
James?
Yes, let's make it a family moment.
Yeah, I would say in high school the trick was you ask someone what time it was, and then you whip it out and have them look at your wristwatch. That was always the high school favorite. So I can't say that's a stranger to me, but no one had a dead one. I think they were all ticking at that point.
Yeah.
Like, well, there we have it.
I think you were talking about the action this scene, and it was reminding me of when you were sprinting across right at the end here. You sprint across through the ladder, and I was thinking about the blocking to get the sense that you're moving quickly and with urgency without making it a weird shot. Is an impressive bit of.
You've only got like one footstep in between you and the ladder.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry,
so
Jen.
you got the movement right. I was wondering if you would share what that took.
Well, it really doesn't take much. It's sort of movie magic and screen direction magic. I exit frame rather quickly, camera left, and then I enter frame from camera right in the next thing, passing in front of Dan as he's eating his burger, and then enter again frame. No, I don't. Sorry. And then it's right down the barrel, right?
Yeah.
Fist into the lens. And because what's his name? Sorry, I'm blanking.
Mike Mullen?
Because
or
Mike,
Jeff? Yeah.
Because Mike is looking, well, actually, he's looking a little bit camera right, but it's enough down the barrel to sort of make my fist coming down the barrel feel as if they're going to the same place.
Yeah.
And then it's the quick cut with the fist wiping across the face. But of course, a good 6 inches away from it.
Yeah.
Wow, really that far?
Oh yeah.
So-
You never pass your fist should never pass anything less than 6 inches, or else you're in danger of actually putting somebody's lights out.
Right.
I had a guy once. It was silly, but a show I was doing in Miami. And we had this new actor for the new episode, and he came to set the day before he was supposed to shoot to do a fight rehearsal. I met him at lunch, and I knew within a minute of meeting him that he was a loose cannon. I just knew it. I could just tell. Anybody who says, I've done a million fight scenes, that kind of thing. So during the second half of lunch, we went to do the fight rehearsal. The first assistant director was really, really careful to stress, all right, this is a slow motion fight rehearsal, okay? We're doing this, maybe it wasn't slow motion, but we're doing it, half speed fight rehearsal. And the guy's supposed to come up and tap me on the shoulder. And as I turned to him from the window I'm looking out of, he just punches me, and is supposed to. And and so I even told the guy, this half speed, okay? He's like, yeah. And the assistant director says, action. He comes up, taps me on the shoulder. I turn around, and he whacks me across the face.
Ooh.
With he just miscalculated. He hit me right across the face. He was wearing a ring. He grazed my. I had an abrasion on my eyeball, and had to go to after work. I had to go to the hospital for the rest of the night. They had to shoot me from one side only, and in light that wouldn't show my puffy eye. So you never ever swing a fist and have it come anywhere near anyone's face. It's always kind of a trick, and at least 6 inches away.
On the other podcast that I've done, the Airport Minute, we talked with someone who's friends with George Kennedy, and George Kennedy was in a movie with Tony Franciosa, and apparently Tony Franciosa was known as being a tough guy on set, and he was supposed to have a fight scene with George Kennedy, and George Kennedy went, okay, well, we'll practice all this, and they practice all the stuff, and when it comes time to film, Tony Franciosa hits George, who's a huge guy. I mean, he was like 6'4" and everything, big husky guy, and Tony Franciosa hits George Kennedy in the face, like square on, and so they go, okay, we're gonna have to shoot the reverse of this, so take two. So they come back, and George Kennedy turns to Tony Franciosa, he goes, don't forget, the next scene in this is me hitting you back. And so Tony pulled the next one as he's supposed to, and he just got a light touch back from George. But that was
good one for
wow.
Joe Petroni there.
Yeah,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't have dared to. I would have been very careful to be in a fight scene with George Kennedy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I mean, Cool Hand Luke, come on.
Yeah, the Blue Knight, Joe Petroni, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Billy, James was asking about this, the blocking and stuff here, and I think he'd also mentioned, second to 46, 47 or so, as you're right toward the end of the scene where you're sprinting toward the ladder. And just the blocking and the timing there is actually really interesting. And it almost looks to me like you do a little sort of a skip thing to make sure you hit the ladder with whatever foot you normally want to lead with.
I'm just going to play that little bit because here it goes. And
there's just a little hop right in the middle.
You're just kind of a little hop.
Just kind of a little hop right in the middle there.
I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what I was doing.
I mean, you could have been just skipping along saying, I'm in a movie, but I don't think... I think we've seen you've been far more professional than that. So
now that I'm looking at it, it sure seems that's what I'm doing. I'm so happy to be here.
It honestly looks to me like you're getting your feet lined up because you want to hit the ladder with whichever foot you're most comfortable starting climbing with.
That might be the case. But I have no clear recollection of that. But I did have to go all the way up the ladder, so maybe that is what I was doing.
The effect that it has, though, is it takes a short trip from 3 booths long. It makes it exciting. There's some energy from you going from a phone to a ladder in a short period of time, but there's still
exactly. That's the beauty of doing things in or mixing up anyway the length of shots, and I mean, I've always really loved this sort of the European style of filmmaking, which of course you can stay in a shot for minutes and minutes, because it really helps you to believe that you're there. Of course, you can't do that in an action movie, but if you mix up the shots and you have some shots that, as you say, James, take you from one side of the set to the other, I think it really contributes to the sort of the feeling of being there or being inside the scene.
I do love the comic book section. James had pointed this out previously, the comic book part of this whole thing where Margot Martindale hits the fellow over the head with a very Cats and Jammer Kids kind of a frying pan.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's Fred and Wilma Flintstone. It's the Honeymooners.
Yeah.
And, what's funny, I had just noticed this. If you scrub second 44 to second 45, you actually see after the frying pan is hit and she's coming back, the frying pan is bent back over her hands, like it's made out of lightweight rubber or something.
Yeah,
which,
you're right.
Of course, we would hope that it would be, but all it takes is for it to happen fast, and then the sound editors come in and give you a nice good clang, and
that's right.
And you're
you
totally
don't know
convinced.
The yeah.
Exactly, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Or it was just the magnificent and muscular Margot Martindale bending an actual cast iron frying pan.
That makes a lot more sense to me.
Possible.
And Margot, we've tweeted at you, so you must be out there listening, right?
Please come.
Please come on the show and
we need Millie here.
We love you and we're now afraid of you because of your superhuman strength.
And we're back up in the either the set or the roof of the bulldog at the end there. Just love the little details like the eyeballs, having the little eaves for where the bulldog's eyes are
so
sticking
well done.
out.
And
it looks like the lunar module almost.
It really does.
Sort of.
And in a earlier minute, we were talking about the models hanging from the ceiling in the bulldog, and from one shot we looked back and I could see one in the front that was identified as a Sopwith pup, and I said, I think maybe that one in the background is a Curtis Robin. And so looking at this one more closely, we see that model again at about second 50 or so.
Second 50, right there by the light.
Yeah, hanging under the light, and so I've since dug deeper. That is, I will definitely claim that is an airplane called a Curtis Robin, and there was a company called Comet, which was famous for making both free flight and control line and even in early radio controlled models, and they would give you stick and tissue and plans to build something like this. They made a Curtis Robin right about that scale, and they released it in 1937. So. Tiny little blink and you'll miss it thing, but as far as I'm concerned, totally appropriate and period correct.
Yeah.
Wow, and they use that same that toothpicks and airplane dope kind of a construction.
Exactly, yeah. So this is, I would guess this would be, by its size, it would be sort of a free flight model where it could have even still had a gas motor as some of the early ones did, but probably sort of a rubber band powered thing, and you wind it up and you throw it and you hope it's trimmed right and you watch it fly.
The wind isn't blowing too hard,
and you hope you get it back. So.
Well, a stunning minute for sure. There's so much action going on. This is leading up to the next part of it where Cliff has to find it in himself to go jump out on the balcony and explain to Peavy why he's doing what he's never going to do again.
Yeah.
A great way to end the first hour and and end this week of exciting Rocketeer stuff. But lots more special effects and things to come. But thanks so much for being on with us yet again, and we'll have you on very soon. I know there's more coming up shortly. For people who would like to talk more about this particular episode, you can always come back to us here on many social media. Of course, we've got Twitter, Rocketeer Minute. We've got Facebook, facebook.com/Rocketeer Minute, the big site rocketeerminute.com, where you can catch up on previous episodes, get some cool swag, or leave more messages for us. Please, if you haven't subscribed, you're more than halfway gone with this show. You might as well get the rest of it delivered right to you, so you don't have to keep coming back here and downloading it by hand. Go to either iTunes, Google Play, or whatever your favorite podcast center is. Hit search, type in Rocketeer Minute, hit subscribe, and we're good to go. So join us here next week as we follow what's the Rocketeer going to do next. Oh, I think you know what the Rocketeer is going to do next.
That's right.
But James, thanks for being on. Brief though was it?
James, thanks. Nice to meet you.
You as well. Thanks for this is a fun minute to be on, so I appreciate the opportunity.
It was fun to have you. And James, if you would, every time you see your dad from here on out, could you just go, "Swell outfit, Dad"? 'Cause that's a line for this minute.
All right. Well, you've invited something. So my friends here, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and my dad does not. So he doesn't get up here very often, but he's become a bit of a folk legend with people that I am friends with and co-work with, specifically for wearing a handmade button-up short-sleeve shirt that has comic books in print all over the shirt, and he's infamous for wearing that.
I don't understand why I don't have one of these.
What?
The shirt.
I was just going to ask, where can I find one?
Yes, exactly.
I think he's taking orders now.
Yeah, Billy. If you send me your vitals, I will get a shirt together for you. It's a hobby that just turned into something wrong because people, you know how when you reward behavior, it gets repeated. That's what happens. People would clap and say, "What an amazing thing you've done," never hitting that they meant it in jest. But I have a shirt that is covered with Marvel comics, vintage Marvel comics in the print, and
I would wear it with pride.
I would wear it with pride, depending on the covers, depending on the actual.
Oh, they're all Silver Age. They're all Silver
Kirby
Age, and Kirby, and all that, all of those.
Fantastic!
So,
it's been 6 years, and that's still how they know him. Is your dad? He has that shirt. Yep, that's the one.
Yeah.
So James, you're the son of the guy with the shirt. That's your claim to fame. That's
forever.
Excellent.
Yep.
How does that feel?
It feels pretty good. It's as long as it's an occasional thing. It feels great.
Some people are son of a gun, and you're son of the guy with the shirt.
Yeah.
Yes. Billy, I know you have a young son, so someday he'll grow up and he'll be able to point at something that you'll go, "Oh dear."
Yes. It always comes
my
back
daddy
around.
was on my dad was on Star Trek once.
Oh God.
Yeah. Anyway, we will continue this family discussion sometime in the near future. But thank you all for being on, and for the rest of you, please join us here next Monday on the Rocketeer Minute. So until then, over and out.
Over and out, boys. Thank you all.
See you.